So here we go. We are reviewing for the test. This will be your hardest test. I don't mean to scare you, but I want you to try to study for it well. And we're not taking it tomorrow like we could. We're going to have today and tomorrow to review, and then the test is the next day. All right, so this is our first day of review for this test. So question number 1, if I say y equals negative, would you please sketch this real quick? Just make a quick little sketch. You should know it's a parabola, and it's flipped, and it's moved. I can do it real quick, can you? It's been moved to the right, and up, and it's been flipped. In fact, I even know the vertex because, it's one of the questions you're supposed to answer. What's the vertex of this thing? 7, 1. Notice, not negative 7, 7, 1. So I go over 7 and up 1. I put a dot, and then it's an upside-down parabola right there. Raise your hand if you already had that. Cool. The axis of symmetry runs right down the middle of that. I call it the axis of symmetry because copying a kid from long ago. X equals 7, and that's the axis of symmetry. All right, the next thing is, what are the x-intercepts? Well, if I was actually using a graphing calculator, I could just find them, and they'd be here and here. Okay, but the x-intercept is best found by doing factoring. So I have to multiply this all out, put the negative into it. That's going to be, I'm going to do this in my head, but it's dangerous. I'm going to do minus 14x, but then the other negative in the front makes it plus 14x. And then it would be plus 49, but the negative in front makes it minus 49. But why am I not going to put 49? Plus 1. So it was negative 49, but then it's plus 1, which makes negative 48. And you might be like, oh, thanks a lot, Mr. Server. I don't want to factor that. I hear you. It's hard to factor. But the negative 1 comes out, and it'll be much easier. X squared minus 14x plus 48. And then right away, I'm thinking 6 times 8 makes 48, and they might make 14, right? So then it's factored into x, and it has to be 2 minuses. I do the signs next, because if that's positive, you have to have 2 negatives to be able to get this negative here. You need 2 negatives. And now it's 6 and 8, and awesome, I have figured them out. That's 6 and that's 8, and it matches up in my little picture. Raise your hand if you had those right. Awesome. If you didn't, is it because you got stuck factoring? What got you? Okay. All right. If you can factor it, you should. Do you get that a lot of you got that one wrong? Do you get that was because most of you didn't get this, which is because most of you had trouble factoring it. So be good at factoring. I'm warning you, it's going to come up. All right. So I've got the axis of symmetry. I got the vertex. I got the x-intercepts. What's the one last thing you could find? Y-intercept. Do you get eventually down here? This would go and eventually would touch the red line, and eventually I'm going to make it force it over here, and it would touch. How do I get that? Well, finish this sentence for me. The y-intercept is where x is 0. So you stick a 0 in here, and that's your answer if you can simplify it. Y equals that. So that would be negative 7 squared is 49. Then put a negative on it, negative 49. Negative 49 plus the 1, negative 48. So way down here at negative 48 is where it would hit. And that was the the y-intercept was stick in x is 0. And you get negative 48. Y-intercept has x is 0, so I better put a 0 comma. Negative 48. Okay, on that one, how many of you had 0, negative 48? All right, that's at least half of you. All right. Now, I don't want to take too much time, but I want to do this second one at least all the way out in my video here. So y equals negative x squared minus 9x plus 10. Step 1, factor out the negative. How many of you did that? Okay, if you didn't, I don't even know how you would do it. It makes it really hard if you don't know to factor out that negative. Double checking myself. Did all of these change signs after I factored out the negative? I think I did it right, didn't I? Yep. Then it should factor again. X and plus a 10 and minus a 1. And always check it, because this is where people mess up, the outside and the inside. That's 10x minus a 1x makes 9x. Yay, I did it right. So then my x-intercepts would be x equals negative 10. So negative 10 comma 0 if you want to put them that way. And x equals 1. Negative 10 comma 0 and 1 comma 0. Those are the x-intercepts, so their y must be 0. Okay? And then there's kind of an outside-the-box way to figure out the axis of symmetry. It's going to go exactly between the two x values. It's got to be negative. It's got to be negative something. Negative 4.5, negative 4.5. If you added these together, you get negative 9. Cut it in half, and you got negative 4.5. That's just an outside-the-box way to do it. Negative 4.5 was it, though. How many of you had negative 4.5? Awesome. The axis of symmetry is probably a little easier found with x equals negative b, and then skip to the end of the song, all over 2a. And so then that is negative of negative 9 makes 9 over 2 times negative 1 makes negative 2, so negative 4.5. There is your x. And now, if you want the vertex is always the same x value here, but now you stick it in the function and figure out f of that, f of negative 4.5. So I should do that. I'm going to take a second, I'm going to pause. I'm going to get a decimal answer because you guys might have all kinds of crazy pants fraction answers, and I want to get a decimal. So take your fractions, make them decimals, and I'll get the final answer here. Just to clarify, everybody in class gave up, which I understand, but on the test, you'd have to handle a fraction. It's not like fractions are like illegal in an Algebra 2 honors class. Of course, we do fractions. But it might be just easier to use the decimal and multiply out negative 4.5 goes in here and here. I'm going to pause for a sec. I was asked the question, why aren't the x-intercepts, like why are you using negative 10? Because there's a negative in front. Watch. When I put negative 10 in here, doesn't this turn into 0? Does it matter if there's a negative in the front now? Okay, so that's why you don't care about this negative that's in the front, because if this becomes 0, negative 1 times 0 is still 0. Okay, and then why is this one negative? Well, if you actually look at where this thing is, I think it'll make more sense to you. If we know its x-intercepts are negative 10 and positive 1, and we know it's an upside-down parabola, now you tell me, shouldn't the axis of symmetry be negative? Yep. All right, so after we were all done with the negative 4.5, we put it in, and we got a final answer of negative, help me, I forgot already, 30.25. All right, that's about as gross as it could possibly be. And it'll probably be easier numbers than that. All right, so what we're going to do for the rest of the hour is I'm going to give you a practice test. You probably won't finish it. Y'all take it home. I'm fine with you working with other kids during class, totally cool. Okay, and you take it home and you finish it, hopefully. Maybe it isn't even finished, but try to get it finished. Then in class tomorrow, I'm going to give you like 5 minutes at the beginning to just kind of do final cleanup on it. And then I'm going to read out the answers, and we're going to see realistically, how did you do? Like, did you have this all down or not? And if there's ones that you had real trouble with, the end of class tomorrow, I'll take some time for questions. All right, so that's it for the video for today.